Back for part three of video games I played tier list. I think it's part three. We're on the H's, so we'll just dive right back in. We are on Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon, what's the newest one called? Forbidden West. Yeah. So Horizon Zero Dawn was a game that came out on PS4. I knew nothing about. It's Aloy. You're a female protagonist. She grows up in a future world where it's kind of tribal. There's advanced robots that are the like majority of the ecosystem, and you have no idea what's going on. Your tribe kind of shuns you. You are seen as a pariah. You don't really get why. You have one guy who really cares about you and takes care of you as a kid, and then you end up going out on your own. You primarily use a bow as your weapon of choice. And I had like no expectations for this game. This game I really loved. It was incredible. The world is beautiful. The artwork is awesome. The robots are awesome. The fights are challenging. It was story was really immersive, and I thought really well done. Really good voice actors. Just totally felt like you were Aloy, like you were in her world. So totally like Horizon Zero Dawn. Uh, so many good boss fights and things that I remember in this one, but just trying to manage being in the world. You can like override some of them and ride the animals, or use them in fights and those kind of things too. I did beat Horizon Zero Dawn because the story was so good. I was like, I've got to keep pushing on this one and get to the finish line. But yeah, super fun game. And then we have Horizon Forbidden West, which I assumed was going to be worse. You kind of sometimes have a drop off, and similar type world that you're in. It's just the continuation with the same story. There's some different robots in this one as well. You got like a giant mammoth and a turtle and a snake, these huge things that were so difficult. One that's like comes out of the ground. But there's really cool parts of it with the desert and with the jungle and with the snow, all things there. And the story is great. And I really love this one too. Both those games were just amazing. Super fun, and they kind of go together. Horizon Forbidden West had more to it. There was more. I think it was a little better fighting mechanisms. I could be wrong, but it felt a little smoother. And you could do things like go fight in a coliseum, where it's like these three are going to attack you, and you're in front of a crowd and just trying to fight, and it's super fun. All right, Ice Climber. Ice Climber was on NES, and I think the whole point was you are a ice climber and you've got a hammer. Your hammer can be used to like hit whatever's coming after you, little snowman or whatever. And then you also need it to break bricks above your head. So you start at the bottom, and your job is to go up and up and up. The first levels are just you literally breaking the blocks above you and jumping up one level and one level. But then it gets to the point where they're starting to have ones you can't jump through or you can't break, and they're moving, and so like you've got to get really crafty about like how you're doing it. Ice Climber was okay, but it wasn't my favorite game. I kind of got tired of it. I'm sure some people love that game, but I just didn't really get into it that much. Ico. Ico was a very bizarre game. I got this as part of a bundle with Shadow of the Colossus, which I heard was a really cool game. And so I was like, I'll get Ico. And this was like I don't know if it was an independent developer or what, but it was on PS2, and I played it more on PS3 or 4. Uh, but Ico was haunting. I don't know how else to explain it. Like the world was so weird and cool. Like I enjoyed being in it, but it was bizarre. And you're kind of trying to navigate levels and get through and solve how to get through puzzle. You're not like fighting a ton, but you're fighting a little bit, just sword type stuff, I believe. But yeah, it was really cool and creepy. The music was great, like just a really cool atmospheric game. and I would say I enjoyed it. I don't know that I put like because the gameplay I wasn't super into. I did not beat it ultimately. I still have it. I could go back and try, but I think I just got to a point where I got stuck and didn't go back to it. Jackal. I always had this game in my head, and I could not remember the name of it for the life of me. So I know now it is Jackal. You are a jeep, I think, within the it could be the desert, the jungle, or whatever. But you're straight above it, and you're shooting like um, different buildings and different tanks and different enemies and things as you just go through. And I really liked this game. Like I had a lot of fun playing this game when I rented it. Um, I don't think I beat it. I would have played it a good bit. I probably rented it a couple times. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I just don't remember if I made it too far. Okay, Jaws. Interesting one. I didn't play this till I was in college. So we had an NES in college toward the later years of my college where we invested like a summer just playing NES games, and Jaws was one of them. I beat Jaws. And I kind of like I enjoyed the movie and stuff, but I liked the concept of getting to the final shark and beating the final shark. And this was a game we had to leave on. Like I mentioned it in the last video, like we just got so far and we kept like making sure we didn't screw up and whatever when we got there, and then like finally ultimately beat Jaws. But this game was not good. It was not a good game. I took some satisfaction of beating it. Um, but yeah, I don't know that it was. I don't think anybody would consider that a good game. The graphics were not good. The gameplay was not good. You're like shooting with a harpoon and whatever. But anyway, we had it, so we played it and we tried it and beat it. Okay, Jeopardy. I included Jeopardy in here. I played Jeopardy on NES. I liked the show. My family would watch Jeopardy every now and then, and enough to where I remember it for sure growing up. And yeah, they had the Jeopardy version, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. Not much to it. You're just playing the video game or playing the actual game show. But yeah, I had fun. It was all right. Jordan versus Bird. Loved Michael Jordan. Loved Larry Bird. Uh, Jordan versus Bird came out, and I was like, okay, basketball game, Jordan and Bird. This is great. Um, I don't know that I think it was okay. I mean, I played a good bit of it, and it was just them like one on one, and they had a scoreboard. It was like Bird and Jordan, I think I recall. Uh, so I'm sure my friends and I played it, and like oh, I'm gonna be Bird, you be Jordan, and all that. But the actual gameplay and stuff, I don't know that it was that great. Could be wrong. Joust. I have Joust here. I don't think arcade was my first experience with Joust. I think it was NES. I'm almost positive it was. I did play it later on arcade, but Joust is where you are riding. I don't even know. Is it a freaking turkey or a swan or something? I don't know. You're riding these birds like ostrich. Maybe it's an ostrich. That would make more sense. And so you're riding these ostriches, and you have like a lance, and it like floats up and keeps flying, and you have to like try to hit them, and they have to try to hit you, and there's just platforms, and you're going between platforms to hit them. So not much to it other than that. But I enjoyed Joust. I always like playing Joust. Good mechanics. I felt like the momentum you would carry and the difficulty of like turning around. It felt smooth, but it was like you could get caught and realize you're going to get hit. So yeah, I enjoyed Joust quite a bit when I played. Jungle Strike. I mentioned Desert Strike before. Jungle Strike, I will put in my really, really like category. This game was fun. I remember it wasn't all in the jungle, I don't think. There was like a Washington, D.C. level, maybe. For some reason, I remember the White House. Might be totally wrong about that. But yeah, Jungle Strike, I enjoyed the gameplay, the helicopter being above, and you're like can spin around. You got to get fuel, you got to get ammo. You pick it up with like a hook. I think I remember that. It's like on the ground, and you have to send your hook down and pick it back up. So yeah, I actually checked to see if I had this like on my Switch, and I don't, and I was disappointed. So we'll see if I can find that one. Maybe play it again. Jurassic Park. So Jurassic Park was huge when I was a kid. Everybody loved Jurassic Park, and then the game came out, and I think you're Alan Grant, and uh, so I started playing this game, and I remember like shooting, the different dinosaurs and all that. This feels like one of those games where there were, maybe it was true, but there were rumors you could play as like a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something, and we were all like, how, what's the code to do it and everything. But the reality is, what this game wasn't very good. I didn't care much for it. Part of it was disappointment because like Jurassic Park was so cool that I was like, okay, I really want to have a good Jurassic Park game. Now I might misremember that, and if I went back and played, it was like, oh, now it's better than I thought. But I don't remember it being good. And we played it. I played it at a friend's house. Didn't beat it, but got decently far, I think. And just was like, this. I'm playing it because it's Jurassic Park, and I don't like it otherwise. So Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus was kind of a famous, probably more famous game. I know Kid Icarus is in stuff, but um, I rented it on NES after a while. This was a game I also just didn't care much for. I don't know why. I played it enough to experience it, and I never really wanted to play it again. And I don't know if it was that I didn't care about the character, like a Cupid looking guy and doing stuff, or what. It was another game I was like, yeah, okay. Killer Instinct. So Killer Instinct was a fighting game. This was one of those weird ones where uh, I think it was on multiple consoles because it was in between generations. Like you had it maybe on Super Nintendo, and then maybe they had a version on N64 as well. I think I played it on Sega instead of Super Nintendo, but I feel like the first time I played it was at my cousin's house on Super Nintendo. The first time I saw it, maybe. So I remember this guy on the cover, and that was kind of the point. You had these different fighters that looked cool, and they were, it was a Mortal Kombat style deal. But Killer Instinct, like, I didn't really get into it. I don't know if I didn't know the characters that well, or I couldn't control the mechanisms very much. And because I most likely rented it once and didn't play it again, I just would have rather played Mortal Kombat or rather played Street Fighter or something, and I just didn't get into it. So I'll have it in my was okay category. Kirby's Adventure. I played Kirby's Adventure on the Switch. I have not played it normally, but this is the NES game, and I was like, well, I need to see what Kirby's all about because I played as Kirby a lot on Super Smash Brothers, and I'm like, I never played one of his games, so went back and played this one a little bit, and so didn't beat it or anything. Didn't have the patience to keep playing it, but was pretty cool. I would say it's good, but I didn't play enough. I just wanted to get a taste of it. But yeah, you can swallow your enemy, and then you get some of their powers, and you use them, which is really cool. And he floats, and he's a fun character. So I could certainly see people really liking Kirby games, and if I had the patience, I would sit there and just play it and enjoy it. Kung Fu. So Kung Fu, I would say, was okay. Although it was a pretty important moment for me as a young kid. So like I was at my babysitter's when I saw Kung Fu, which sounds crazy, but it was like an older lady and her son lived there, and he's in high school, and he's actually friends with my brother, but my brother wasn't there. But anyway, it's an older house, and like they were in the off limits section of the house upstairs, like the where the bedrooms and things were. So you would be in the main floor, and that's where the babysit world was, and it felt like this massive, enormous place because you were so small. And it was an old house, so it was kind of like creepy and everything to me. But there was one time where he came home, and he was like, he knew me because he knew my brother, but he's like, hey, do you want to come up and see the NES? Like, I got this game on NES to play. And I was like, oh, sure. So me and like one other kid that was there. And then I think maybe he had a friend over too. Like we went up, and so we watched Kung Fu. And so, yeah, he was doing it almost looked like karate. He almost looks like Karate Kid, like Daniel LaRusso, but yeah, started watching it and everything. So he let me play a little bit, and I started doing the stuff because I played NES a tad. And it was tough. I wasn't very good, and I just remember like having a little back and forth fight, and that was it. I think this game was pretty simple, so it could be a game people really like, but I didn't really do more than just pick around on it a little bit, and it was okay. Lemmings. So Lemmings was a game my friend had on his computer. I didn't know anything about Lemmings, but it was where you've got these lemmings and they get fed into this world. You have so many of them that are going to come down, and you've got to figure out how to get them across the world safely, as many as you can. And I think there's like a goal that if you get to that, you've beaten the level. So Lemmings is a game where I don't think you have too much control other than you like pick what lemming you want to do what. It's like, hey, use an umbrella here or build this so you can build a bridge or do something. But there was no other like actions I think you took in it. But I loved playing the concept of the game. I really liked the puzzle solving and the trying to get them there. So I would say it was something that I enjoyed. I don't know that I'd say I really really liked it and like had to play Lemmings, but it was a cool concept and a game that I thought was pretty fun. Life Force. Life Force is and I think um, I want to say I want to say I played Life Force 2 if I'm thinking of the right game. But anyway, Life Force 2, what I remember, I think being Life Force, and I guess I can scroll down and make sure I'm not thinking of another game. Um, yeah, I don't think so. But Life Force, what I remember is you're on the map below, and then you're above, and you've got like a spaceship, and you're shooting like up, left, right, and you're moving. And so there's like a barrier to the world you're in. If you go across the barrier, you die. But there's all these like turrets and things on the ground you're shooting, so you gotta hit the turrets, and you move in any direction you want to go do it. I think it also might have had a side scroller part to it. I never beat it, but it was fun. I enjoyed it for sure. So I will have that in the enjoyed category. Okay, Little Nemo, the Dream Master. I own this one on Sega. So Little Nemo was a little kid, and he'd fall asleep, and he'd be in these dream worlds. I really liked the music in this game. It was a game that got me immersed in his world. He would throw candy to the monsters, and they would eat it, and then they would become docile, and then you could become them. Like you would hop in their suit, they become a suit. So like you become a frog, and you could jump real high, and there were can't remember some of the other ones that you had, but yeah, there were different animals and stuff you could do. Some of them I don't think you could do it with, but that was the whole point. Now I don't think that I ever beat it, and I don't know if I reached like a part that got too hard or what. I probably need to go back and see what the holdup was. But yeah, Little Nemo, I definitely enjoyed that game. All right, Luigi's Mansion 2. I didn't play Luigi's Mansion 1. I have not played Luigi's Mansion 3. This game was on N6 or on the Switch. I got it because of the sale or something. And I was like, okay, this is probably going to be like Mario Odyssey a little bit, or, Luigi's version. I never played it. So you're in this haunted hotel. I think you check in with everybody, and then all of a sudden the lights go down, and you lose everybody, and it's just you. And so you've got this like Ghostbusters type thing, but it's a vacuum, and you suck in the ghosts, and you have to like knock them down and knock them out. And the ghosts have all different floors on the hotel, and you've got to take them out kind of one by one. And they have different themes, like a movie director or a plumber. I don't remember. I mean, there's different ones that are kind of like you. It felt like, but yeah. And then you get to King Boo, and Boo is like the big bad, I believe. Um, there's a doctor. Oh, what was his name? The guy who helps you with like your equipment and stuff. He was fun. So it was a fun game. This was a game I really, really liked. Just sometimes these games aren't like the hardest thing in the world, but it's the gameplay that's fun. Like I enjoyed the journey of playing the game. It's not about like worrying, can I ever beat this guy? Some of them are hard enough, but yeah, it was cool to like figure out where you needed to go and collect things. So and then just the atmosphere of the mansion was fun. Mad Dog McCree. This was an arcade game. I remember I played at Holiday World a lot, um, where it's a big screen and you've got a gun and your friends have a gun, kind of like Duck Hunt, and the people are real, like they're actors right on the screen, and they pop up and you've got to shoot them like Old West. and everything. And we always liked playing Mad Dog McCree, so I'll say I enjoyed playing that one. Uh, I don't remember uh, too much about like how far we got or anything in it, like if we ever really kicked butt in it, so probably not. And I don't remember uh, putting a ton of quarters into it, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, Madden 99. I mentioned before, sometimes with consoles, it's like I want to try a sports game, see what sports games are out there. So Madden 99 was one that I tried, and I think I ended up getting as a football game that I would have to play with my friends and things, and I liked it for sure. I thought the gameplay was good, so I will have that in my enjoyed category as well. I know that one's getting pretty big, and if it gets too big, I might split it out to really liked and enjoyed or something like that. Um, but anyway, we'll rank them anyway. So, Maniac Mansion. Maniac Mansion was on NES, and this was one of the first games I was like creeped out by. I played it probably when I was decently young, but you are choosing between 4 or 5 characters. I feel like Jeff was the name of one, maybe that I picked. But you're like outside this house and you have to like get in this mansion, and then you have to find um, different items and do things like use the environment. So it's like find the wrench, use the wrench on the refrigerator or something like that. And the characters are real creepy, and sometimes they'll cut away and show the like bad guy and what's going on. And I did eventually beat this game, but I remember one of the scenes always for me was I would like go in the kitchen, and then I'd walk down and go to the fridge, and I'd start coming out, and they'd catch me. Like the villain would be there and it'd like kind of freak me out. But they put you in a dungeon, and sometimes I think there's actually a part where you do have to go to the dungeon, and then you have to switch to one of the other characters, and they come and do something and get you out because you needed to get something in the dungeon. So it was really cool. I thought well thought out. And then, if I'm not mistaken, bizarrely, the end is like that there's an asteroid or a meteorite that like had made him crazy or something. So it was a cool story. Weird thing. I'd say I really like Maniac Mansion. Marble Madness. So Marble Madness, I played on the NES. I think it was arcade as well, but I remember playing it on the NES more. So the Marble Madness was you are a marble and you're going down this level, and you've got to like control it to go around these tight turns and little areas, and then there's things that might get you that you got to watch out for. The trick with this one was always just the control and the momentum and making sure that you were good here. I eventually beat Marble Madness, but it was not when I was young. I came back and played it later and beat it because it was always maddening to me that I could not get past certain levels and just not patient enough. So once I was a little older, I got patient enough. But yeah, I enjoyed Marble Madness a lot. I wouldn't say I really liked it because I would get frustrated, but maybe so it was good. And that might be one, like if I do split it up at the very end when we rank, I might put in like really liked. So we'll see. All right. Oh man, I can't even. Oh, that's Mario Brothers. So this is the original Mario Brothers arcade game where you've got the 2 pipes, or maybe the 4. I can't remember, but the pipes where they come out and can go. You can go from one side to the other. You've got the turtles, the Koopas that come out, and the whole thing is you and Luigi, and you're trying to like beat each other. You're trying to use the POW and knock the turtles out, and then shoot the turtle at the other person. So yeah, it's a pretty fun game. I'll say it was okay. I don't know that it was my favorite. It's just because Mario became something so much more. But I didn't really spend a whole lot of time playing this one. I thought it was okay. It's probably it. Okay, so some Marios here. I'm sure there's some down there because they're Super Marios. But uh, we will do Mario Kart and Mario Kart 8 together. These others are probably fine. Okay, so we have Mario Kart 64. Mario Kart 64 came out on 64. I had only played, and I should have included if it's not in here, and I might put it in before the end, the 60 or the SNES version, because I actually didn't play that a lot. I played it a little bit, so I probably should have it in here. But Mario Kart 64 was like a newer version of it for me, so I really didn't play the SNES enough to know what was going on. But the N64 version came out, and I ended up getting it. And became very good at it. This is like one of my best games in terms of me being pretty good at. Got to the point where I just like knew how to cut turns and get boosts and things right when you need to on certain levels. But it's also a game where there's a little of favoritism where they'll catch up because they give the good stuff to the people in the back, and so it makes it close. Because sometimes, like on the SNES one, I think it didn't do that, and you could just get way out ahead. This happens sometimes on 64 if you took shortcuts on certain levels, like Koopa Troopa Beach. I got to the point where I just like could almost hit the jump every time, and then there were others like Wario Stadium. You could do a cheat jump and jump over the third wall or something like that. So Mario Kart though was super fun. The music was great. The pacing was great. It was always fun to play with friends. All the levels were good. Even the battle mode was fun with the balloons. So yeah, I really loved Mario Kart 64. Okay, I'm gonna see down in Super Mario if I have uh so Super Mario Brothers 3 and everything. So oh yeah, there it is, Super Mario Kart. Okay, I didn't know, I couldn't remember if it was called Super Mario Kart or just Mario Kart. All right, so Mario Kart 8. And I'll just move, well, I've already talked about it a little bit. I'll move that up here and talk about it. So Super Mario Kart, I mostly played um, at like friend's house, maybe my cousins, but I think more at a friend's house. I remember playing with like some of my tennis teammates and stuff at times too. So it was just a random like party game, right? You go over and have some controllers and play this. I wasn't very good at this one. I do remember it a lot. It's obviously much more flat. You run over the question marks. There's not little boxes. Mario Circuit. You just got pipes sticking out, and it's not too bad. So Super Mario Kart, I'd say I enjoyed. It wasn't like my favorite, but it's because I didn't play it enough. I will say the one thing about Mario Kart 64 that probably drove me nuts more than anything was Banshee Boardwalk. Uh, Maybe Yoshi Valley when you hit those stupid porcupines and fall off the edge. But yeah, Banshee Boardwalk was always one that took me a long time to get good at. Okay, Mario Kart 8. So Mario Kart 8 was on the Switch. Mario Kart 8 is a huge game. Like they have a billion levels that are still adding to it. They added levels from like the other games, modernized them a little bit. This game is so fun just to be in, like, and play these courses and see how pretty it is and to hear the music. Like it's really immersive. It's a nice game just to pick up and play. That said, I think sometimes it's too easy. You can change some things to make it less forgiving, but there's a lot of options around your cart and your characters and all that. And the battle modes can be fun. So there's a lot to like about it for sure. So I'll say I really, really like it. But Mario Kart 64 for me has a little bit of an edge over Mario Kart 8 just on its how much I played it as a kid and all that. Mario Odyssey. So this was the first game I had with the Switch. Um, Not the hardest game in the world for sure. Now, the last stage is. There's like a darker side of the moon stage that is, for me, darn near impossible. I could make it, I don't even know how far the way through, probably three-fourths the way if I was playing my best. But I also just like am not perfect enough at jumps and things, or do I care to be that I, made it all the way. I think the section I made it to on the darker side of the moon, and it just got me so mad that I stopped playing, was you're in an ice part and there's all these little spiny things that pop up and they just keep coming. Like you can blow them up with you like throw your hat at these bells that like shoot out this shock wave and that takes them out, and it can hurt you too. But it like you jump over it, it takes them out, but then they pop up again and they're all over you. And I think I just finally got driven nuts at that point and quit. Uh, who knows how close I was to the end. But anyway, the rest of it was pretty straightforward. The story was not hard, but the levels were fun. It was nostalgic. There's a lot of cool like suits and things. So it's a fun game. Like fun. They have the flat 2D version at times. There's great music. It's it's a fun game. It was a good, nice little reintroduction to Mario. I think I missed Mario Galaxy and some others that people might favor over this. But I'll say that I really, really liked this. It was a good game, for sure. All right, Mario Golf. So I didn't play Mario Golf when I had the N64. I played this on Switch when it was on an emulator, and I was like, oh, I'll throw in Mario Golf. I very much had a Mario Golf phase of just, I'm going to throw a Mario Golf, play it through a few holes, see if I can play well. I enjoyed this game. It's just, I'm not a golfer. I'll play golf every now and then. It's not something I'm like actively seeking to do. But if somebody wanted to play, it's like, okay, I'll play. But yeah, it's just, picking clubs, knowing what your kind of rough you're hitting out of, how far to putt it, the wind. The mechanics feel pretty good on that game, and it's fun, like to try to outshoot some people or whatever. I enjoyed it, so it was not like something I would say is a terrible game by any means. I thought it was fun. Mario Tennis. So I'm more of a tennis player, and Mario Tennis came out, and as a tennis player, I'm like, oh, I'll try it. I hadn't played, maybe there was an earlier version on SNES or something, but yeah, I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And this is probably, if Mario Kart's my best game, this might be my second, or it might be my first, because I have some level of tennis instinct that I use to play the game, like of when to slice or lob or hit across court or down the line and stuff. And the mechanics in this game are actually pretty good. Uh, I prefer to use Boo. Boo has he's a little bit more. He floats, so he's a little bit more difficult to like navigate. Sometimes you might float past the ball or whatever. But man, my slice serve with Boo is dynamite, and my out wide serve on the ad side is dynamite. So Mario Tennis is a game my friends and I played a lot, and I'll say I really, really liked it. Um, was always pretty competitive. We'd play like a little cup together, or we play doubles together, and doubles was fun. So a lot of fun, just multiplayer stuff you can do with Mario Tennis that I still enjoy. Mario Party 3. No, that was the first thing I thought in my head when I looked up the box. Like, I want Mario Party 1's box because that's the one I played. And this kept coming up. And then I realized, well, it's not Mario Party 3. This is Mario Party. He just happens to be holding the cube there with the 3. So I think that was maybe a mistake on their end of doing that. But anyway, Mario Party 1 is the one that I played. I did not play Mario Party 2 or 3 or anything that was after that. So when it came out, it was like, oh, I know my friends are coming over this weekend. Let's try this game. Was it fun? Yes. Was it painful? Yes. There's no game I've ever played that was more physically hurtful than this game, because you had the N64, you had the little joystick and your thumb. If you didn't have it calloused enough, this game was all like, move it in a circle as fast as possible, press this button as fast as possible, do this, And if you played it a good amount, like you're sitting there almost like bleeding or getting a blister on your hand to play. The games were fun. It was fun to compete and everything, and I'll say it was enjoyed, but I don't know that it was something I would have really wanted to play a lot because of that. Now, if I played this today, like on the Switch, where the controller is a lot more forgiving of the joysticks and stuff, yeah, why, and I'm sure cost wise, but why they didn't have like a little rubber top on top of the Nintendo 64 controller instead of the little circles of grip, I don't know. I guess they hadn't invented it yet. I don't know. All right, we have Marvel versus Capcom. This was an arcade game, and it was your Marvel characters. The Wolverine, Cyclops, Captain America's of the world, and then you had Capcom. So you had like Mega Man and Ryu and some others from Street Fighter and some other games. So as a fan of a lot of those games, I was like, oh, this will be cool. It's where the characters are pretty big on the screen and bulky, and you can have teammates and they jump in and you fight and you have these big weapons. Cyclops Blast is like the whole screen. So it's pretty cool. It was a game that I enjoyed. I don't know that I loved it and was like, I have to play this again, and pumped a lot of quarters into it. And I was kind of like that with a lot of the fighting games at the arcade. But yeah, it was cool. I thought it was fun to get those characters together. Okay, we have Mass Effect. There's 3 of those. I'll put Mass Effect 1 first. So, PlayStation 3, I think, was Mass Effect 1. And then Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 might have been PS4 and Mass Effect 2 was PS3. So I don't know. But anyway, I played on a platform I owned or a console I owned. And Mass Effect 1, I knew nothing about. I ended up getting it, put it in because I was like, oh, space stuff, fine. I couldn't play like Halo because Halo was on Xbox and I didn't know anybody with an Xbox. Um, and so Mass Effect I put in, and you make your guy. You know, you can make Shepard look like you want. Uh, you get going. I think your first mission, you're like on the Normandy, the ship you're on, which is a cool ship. And then you go down to like a planet with Caden and somebody else. But I think the other guy dies. So you have like two squad mates, one dies, and you pick up Ashley. This other person ends up being a squad mate. So the whole point of the thing, like at that time, is you're just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You're fighting these things called Geth, which are like robots. And you get to like this shard, and it starts to give you all these like memories, and they're not yours. And it's like, what is this? And so, anyway, that kicks off this whole event. You end up becoming a Spectre that is responsible for being like the special forces of the universe, and you're the first human to do it. So there's this whole world building that goes on with this game where there's a galactic council of these three races. You're not, the humans aren't in it. The humans just now are getting integrated into galactic society. They found this relay, this Mass Effect relay that allows you to shoot across the galaxy really quick. So that's your like, okay, this is what's going on. But the game is awesome. You get to pick off planets you want to go to, and the missions you got to do for the main event, but you can do other stuff. And then you have to make choices. That's the cool thing about this game. It's like, do I kill this spider arachnid queen or do I keep her alive? And that has ramifications all the way to Mass Effect 3. It loads up to the next game, the next game. Now, I think you could start a new one with Mass Effect 3 and make choices and say, well, this time I don't want to. But if you were going to play the exact same character you made, you live with your choices all the way through. And so that was a really cool part. And then you had your squad mates, which you got close to like personally, and you felt like, oh, okay, you know, Caden and I are kind of best friends, and Ashley's really hot, and we're friends too, and what's going on? And then, oh, one of them has to die. And literally they're dead through the rest of the series. So that's a problem. You got to make a decision. So those things are all cool about it. The world building's really cool. The visuals are really cool. But Mass Effect, the first one, like from a gameplay, it was a little clunky. From a like shooting and using you have powers. You could be like different kinds of people. You could be an engineer that does certain things, or an adept, which can like use the force and throw people and things, or a soldier that shoots guns real well, and those kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a little clunky at times, but it was a pretty cool atmosphere, and I really, really liked it. All right, Mass Effect 2 came out, and I'm like, well, I got to keep going. And Mass Effect 2, I was Shepard again. So this game just like blows the first one out of the water in terms of being like world building plus your visuals plus the music plus your squad mates. You grow out a bigger squad. It's you have the bigger mystery with these collectors and everything kidnapping people and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You find some of your squad mates from the first one. You've got new ones. So Mass Effect 2 is a game I really loved. Like that game was great for sure. And then Mass Effect 3 comes along, and this is the end of the trilogy. The story I thought was fine. I know a lot of people quibble about the ending and like you have to make a choice at the end, but at the end they're like, it doesn't really matter and all this other stuff. But I thought it was good and I thought it was fine. I thought this game felt really dire. Like the first couple, you feel like, the first one you feel kind of like, oh, I'm just trying to fight this rogue Spectre and figure this thing out. The second one's like, how do I solve this mystery of this thing going on and how do we stop them? The third one's like, oh crap, everybody's about to die. And like, how do we get an army together to help stop this? Which I really liked. So I have this in my really, really like category as well. The part that I didn't like as much was that the squad mates, there was only a few of them. You didn't get to be around. You got to do side missions with your ones from the other one, but you didn't get to be around them as much. And then, yeah, the story ending and everything probably wasn't the most ideal, but I thought it was good. So I'd say I really, really liked that one too. Okay, I put this one in there because I played it. And I remembered a part of a game growing up where I went to a friend's house and we would play this, and it was like you were in a video game for like uh, playing like Wheel of Fortune and some other stuff, and then you had these other games you were playing within the game. And I was like, "What is that game?" And I think it was Math Blaster, so we were learning math without really probably knowing it. But yeah, it was on his computer, and I said it was okay. It was fun. I remember it, so Math Blaster it is. All right, Spider-Man Maximum Carnage. This was on the Genesis, might have been on SNES as well. Was a Spider-Man fan. Carnage was cool. Super lame in the Spider-Man animated series, but cool nonetheless on in comics. So Carnage, Maximum Carnage, was a game that I really think I liked because I could be Venom, I could be Spider-Man. There were some cool villains. There was like Demo Goblin. I'm like, what the hell's Demo Goblin? But yeah, you had Carnage in it. You had Carrion. You had some doppelganger and some like weird Spider-Man villains that I thought was cool. But the gameplay felt pretty good. Like you swing and go up and everything. So I'll have this as my. Uh, um, I'll try to be a little conservative here. I'll be an enjoyed, but I might make a really liked category right above that, um, and then move things up there at the end. So we'll do that later. All right, Mega Man's. Um, we'll move Mega Man 64 to the end, and we'll do this in the order that I have them played. So Mega Man 1, I did not own, but I rented. The box was not the reason, I don't think, because look at it, it looks dumb. But actually, I joke, it was. I remember seeing it, and I was like, oh, okay, he's like a robot guy, and it looks like I don't know, Logan's Run or something. Some back then when you saw like 70 shows and stuff, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of what it looks like. So it was like robot, whatever. Put it in, get to the select screen. You got Cutman, Gutsman, you got Electman, you got Iceman, you got Bombman, Fireman, and famous like select screen music. I picked Cutman first because you pick the first one, reading left to right, top to the bottom most of the time. And this is before I knew anything about Mega Man. Knowing that you can beat them in order based off of their weapons, knowing the right order to go in, having anywhere to check what the right order to go in was. So it was difficult. And I did not beat Mega Man. Mega Man was. So I remember a few things. Like one, I realized, oh, Cutman I can beat, but he's not my easiest. My easiest was Bomb Man. So sometimes I would start with Bomb Man. But I ran into this a couple times and tried to play it because I'm like, I need to try to beat this. But some things bothered me, like Gutsman stage with the little trams that would go down. I felt like I would mistime that jump every time. Iceman stage with the blocks doing the doo, that was drove me nuts. And then I would struggle on the ice and everything. And then the like moment that I realized that the game was trying to trick me was when I was on a Leckman stage, which I thought was a pretty difficult stage. And then I get to the top and you're like, oh, I need to use Gutsman because there's 2 blocks there. And I pick up a block and I throw it out. It doesn't really kill him, and it probably hurts him a little bit. But I was like, okay, this guy's going to roll me. He's got like the strongest weapon, it feels like, in the game. And then you realize, oh no, I'm supposed to use Cutman and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's just frustrating. It was fine. I'll have Mega Man as was okay. I have nostalgia for the characters in Mega Man, but the game itself I thought was just too hard for me. It also had things like points that you didn't really need because I guess it was arcade or something. So it just wasn't my favorite. Then Mega Man 2 came out. And Mega Man 2 I owned because I rented it and I loved it. And I'm like, I got to beat this game. Now, the good thing that happened with Mega Man 2, thank goodness for somebody like me, is you could save. But it wasn't saving like you were used to today where you hit save. You had to remember the code category for where you were. And what that was a grid, and it was like different bubbles, and it would tell you to like A1, B5, C6. And so I'd take pen and paper and write down like Cut Man or Flash Man beaten, Metal Man beaten, Quick Man beaten, and this is where I'm at. Because I would rent it. And the next time I would rent it, I would have that. So I'd like store it away and then bring it back out. It's like, okay, let's go back to where I was. Um, and then once you get far enough, you're like at Wily stage, and it's all good. But that game was difficult. I did finally beat it. This was the only Mega Man game that I beat. Um, the Mega Man 3 is probably the closest besides that, but I only owned two. So that was the one that I was able to get over the hump with. But like so many memorable things about this game, the music was maybe the best of all time. Uh, Quick Man stage with the things that came across and like burnt you and killed you immediately were hectic. You'd like have to use Flash Man or try to get through it. I had to get better to be able to get through it, so I could use Flash Man's weapon on Quick Man. Uh, I always liked Crash Man stage, the music and like the little guys coming out and jumping on the things for some reason. So yeah, a lot like Flashman was usually the first person I played, even though a lot of people would say Quick Man. Quick Man had the best weapon of all time, and then Bubble Man had the greatest music of all time, aside from Dr. Wily's Stage 1, which was great. So Mega Man 2 is a game I loved. Mega Man 3. Mega Man 3 was also a great game. I did not beat it. Again, I rented it. I could get through the Robot Masters, and I would get to the stages where in the corners they would like go dark, and then the stages were harder. You'd be like in Spark Man, and now all of a sudden you can't use that ladder, and you got to use Rush to get up, and now all of a sudden there's 50 spikes where there was nothing before. I think I got through those because that was where I like really struggled at times, and you have to beat like two Robot Masters from two in each level. But again, the problem, much like, and I should have said this with two as well, I had no idea what order to go in. So you're spending your time trying to figure out, who do I beat next? Now, I'm sure there were kids who used magazines and stuff and like looked up stuff. I didn't. And so I'm sitting there going, what in the world to do? At least I should say I didn't in NES or like Sega. Once I got to 64, there's a game called Ocarina of Time that I needed. But yeah, the Mega Man 3 was like that. And so I remember, okay, I beat Top Man. Now I need to go, what, play Hard Man? Nope, that didn't work. Hopefully my Buster gets him. Nope, it didn't. So now I'm starting over. That's what sucked about it. So you're learning those things and not, having the patience. And if you're just renting, it takes you more time to go through. But anyway, I really, really liked Mega Man 3. Magna Man stage was always one of my favorites. That's where I finally got over my aversion of the like flocks. Was able to get through those a lot better once I practiced a bit more. Shadow Man was always one of my favorites. So yeah, that game was fun. Mega Man 4, still thought was good, liked it. Pharaoh Man was always a fun place to start for me. Still didn't know the order to go in or anything. Some of these, sometimes that would force you to be good with the Buster and just time how villains were playing, but then other times you're like, no, I can't beat somebody who I thought was going to be easy. Like Ring Man was one where I was like, this guy's jumping all over the place, throwing everything out. I can't figure it out. But I did get to the point where I got to like Wily stage, I think, on this, and then I just did not beat it. But again, I'm renting it. There's probably only one copy. Other games to play. But I would say Mega Man 4 I really liked as well, and it might be in that middle category I mentioned that I might need that. Okay, Mega Man 5. Mega Man 5 I still enjoyed. Mega Man 5 had Gravity Man, who I thought was cool. He could flip up and down. Napalm Man was kind of cool to me. Starman was okay. Crystal Man was okay. So yeah, I mean, there were just some decent villains in here. It wasn't probably my favorite, but I'll have it in enjoyed. And then Mega Man 6. So this was the last one on NES, I believe, and I feel like it came out late on the NES because I maybe had already started to move to a different console. But Mega Man 6 had like the backpack, had different villains from across the world, I think. So you had like Flame Man was like Arabian, and you had Tomahawk Man was like Native American, and Nightman from England, and Yamato Man from Japan. So like there were some different types of guys, and I'm not. It wasn't like a world thing, but it just seemed like that's the theme they kind of used. There were some weird ones like Centaur Man and Plant Man. I don't know where those came. Maybe it was like Brazil or something, and somewhere else. But anyway, Blizzard Man, Snowman. Mega Man 6, I still enjoyed. It. Uh, Good Mega Man game. I didn't make it as far in this one. I only ran it like once. I did make it to Wily stages, but that's usually where I just could not get over the hump because I had spent so much time trying to figure out the order of the regular levels that I was like, all right, I just don't have it, and I'm not good enough to beat Wily here. But again, the good thing with these was you had the bubbles and everything to save, so I'm sure if I would have been patient, I could have beat at least one or two of the other ones. And then Mega Man 64. So I only played this once. And this was at my cousin's house. And it was like an open world Mega Man game, kind of, where you're 3D and you're running through the city and you're shooting and doing stuff. The graphics weren't great. It wasn't like super great. I'll say it was okay. Now, that being said, this is one of my things. And if Capcom, you're out there listening, I don't understand how there's not like a good open world Mega Man game. Like if you take something like, I don't know, it's not going to be equal, but like a Zelda or a Skyrim or something, and put a Mega Man in that world where robots have like their section of the map, and you get to run around wherever you want to go in the map, and you get to go to their lair, their dungeon, and you beat them, and you get their powers, and you still get to interact with that world. That game would be awesome. Take all the Robot Masters from 1 through 11 for all I care, but it's great. Now, another thing I will say while we're here is an omission in this list are Mega Man X games. I did not have a PlayStation 1 or anything, and I never played them. They look cool. I've watched people play them, but yeah, I just never had a chance to play. I would have probably enjoyed them a good bit, but yeah, I didn't do it. I do have them available to me now. I could play them, but I don't know that I'll have the desire to go back and do it. Mega Race. Mega Race was a CD-ROM game that came with the computer that I bought, where it was like the first gaming computer. So it was a CD-ROM game, and you are picking these like futuristic cars, and it's on a track, and there's these really cool like real life actors in the game. Kind of like I mentioned with Cruising USA or something where it's a real person. Mad Dog McCree was like this, and it's like a game show. It's like Death Race or something kind of deal. But you have guns and you have all this other stuff to race. If the game worked flawlessly, I think I would have really liked this. But the problem was it was so glitchy. It would like freeze on me. It would slow down. It would fail. And for that reason, I'll just put it was okay. I would put it in like the wasn't good if it just never delivered for me. But there were some times where it did work well, and it was really fun. And I couldn't figure it out because I was like going from this world of Nintendo cartridges and things where you had solutions, which was, oh, maybe I'll blow on the cartridge and blow in the console and figure out like how to hit it enough to go in and work. Well, this wasn't different. This was my first exposure to the scratched CD problem. And so once I like took it out and looked at it, I'm like, oh, there is like this little scratch. And then you go into the world of, oh, can I find a CD scratch remover? And they made them, and I tried it, and it didn't work well. So as much as I would like to just knock the game as being a glitchy game, which I do think it inherently had some, I had more issues with the scratch ultimately. So I will keep it in the okay category. All right, Metroid. Metroid was on NES. Metroid was a game I rented. Metroid is a pretty famous game. Metroid is certainly a game you get immersed into the world of. You are in this like maze world. It's got cool music. You can roll in a ball. You can jump and shoot. And there are some things that you can't shoot, some that you can. You're trying to open certain portals, some you can't open yet. So there's a lot of like finding out where you need to go. And I just rented it and I had no patience to get there. Like I gave up. It's a cool game. I don't know that it's a great game from a play standpoint. I didn't really love it. I will have it as my in my enjoyed category because I did like the world and I did like playing. I just could not figure out where the hell to go. It was cool if you figure out later on, right? Like Samus is a girl, and that's cool. Like she was a pretty badass lead in that game, and I don't know. I think that was where it was introduced, where you pull your helmet off at the end. If not, it was Super Metroid. But yeah, so Metroid was I enjoyed. I just didn't get anywhere in it. Micro Machines. This is a racing game on NES, and this is where you just are above, and you've got a track, and it's always you're small, right? So it's like you've got big everyday things around. Here's a coffee cup. Here's a pool ball. Here's whatever, and different levels that are like that. I rented it, and I liked Micro Machines. I had some of the toys of Micro Machines. I had a little box I could keep them in, which was cool. Still have it. But yeah, Micro Machines is one that I would have said I enjoyed. I like to race and play that game. Microsoft Golf. You're like, what the hell is Microsoft Golf? Well, my Microsoft Golf story, I only played it once, maybe twice. So when my brother was in college, they had a computer where uh, they had, I think it was Microsoft Golf. I looked it up to see if it looked the same as what I remember, and it did. So I think this was it, but it might have come with the computer, for example. But uh, my brother's roommate was playing Microsoft Golf, and while I was like waiting for him or doing something, and I was younger, he was like, "Hey, you want to play Microsoft Golf with me?" So he resets it and gives me my character, and I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "I'll go first, and then you go, and here's how you play. You like hit the space bar, and when it fills, you do this." And it's like, "Oh, okay," and then direction and all this. So I never played, and he plays and he's decent or whatever, and then I get up and it's my turn, and I'm like, okay, space and space, and I hit a great shot, and he's like, dang, that was really good. I was like, okay. Well, anyway, I ended up being really good. I kicked his butt. Like I'm just nailing everything, hitting every putt. At first, he's like, oh, this is cool, and then he was getting kind of frustrated. He's like, what the hell? Um, Turns out it was the computer playing. His moral of the story. I was not actually playing. He had set it on accident to be a 1v computer versus 1v1. So, though my timing looked good, it was like I was lip syncing the game where I was hitting it, and I was probably off a little bit, or my direction was wrong, and probably shot 50 over as opposed to the 2 under that I think I ended up with. So, Microsoft Golf, that was my exposure to that game. It was okay. It was not a game I would have like played a lot, but yeah, it was fun. Okay, Punch Out. There was Punch Out. Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I think they eventually removed him from it for some reason. But mostly, I remember playing this at a friend's house. I might have rented it, but I always remember the glove uh, that I don't think I ever used. I don't. He didn't have it either. Uh, but I feel like that was something people might have used for this game. Power glove, something like that. But anyway, Mike Tyson's Punch Out was a really fun game that I was not good at. I never beat it. I could beat the first 4 boxers or something, but I don't remember them all. The best Mike Tyson's Punch Out story I had was when we as a tennis team were over at a friend's house for like a gathering, a team gathering, and some of the guys were playing this, and one of the guys was playing it, had never beaten it or anything. He was a senior, and so anyway, he was like playing, and he was up against Mike Tyson. He had made it, and everybody's like cheering him on and stuff. Well, one of my dumbass friends who was not paying any attention walked across the screen while he was playing because he was just trying to get to like the other side of the room or something. And it was a costly step as it got in the way, and he ended up getting knocked out. And that was like his last life or whatever. And so he lost, and that was like a huge deal for 5 minutes. But yeah, so Mike Tyson's Punch Out I thought was fun. I enjoyed it. I just wasn't good enough at it to like say I really loved that game and I would have played it a lot. But it's definitely a cool game. Millipede, I referenced this a bit more when we talked about Centipede earlier on, and Millipede was a newer version. I remember some weird things about it though, and I didn't like it as much. I didn't actually care for it. Uh, it felt like there was too much going on because I remember I played it at Noble Romans where we used to get pizza, and they put it in. I was like, oh, it's a new Centipede and this will be good. But man, there was stuff flying from all over the place and it felt unfair. Like there was something coming from the bottom that I couldn't even really hit or dodge or something. I was like, nah, I don't like Millipede. So yeah, I gave up on that after not too long compared to Centipede. Missile Command. So this was also arcade. They probably had an Atari version of it. I played it on computer as well, where you've got like missile silos on the bottom, and then you have the missiles coming down, and you like point and say where you want your anti-missile to fire, and it fires and it blows up, and you have to time it to where like it hits the missile at the exact time. As more missiles come, it gets harder and harder, and obviously that's the point of the game. And if you get the high score, you're the best because it's in the arcade. But yeah, I'd say I enjoyed Missile Command. Monopoly again was just a version of Monopoly on Nintendo. It was okay. I rented it because I liked the game Monopoly, and then I played Monopoly on there against the computer, and I thought it was okay. I mean, it was fine. I don't remember if there was any problem with it or any thing that made it too easy or too hard. It just was what it was. So I'll say it was okay. All right, Mortal Kombat is a tricky one for me because I struggle to remember the Mortal Kombats and which ones are what. So Mortal Kombat 1 is more memorable to me, and I think that's just where you had Liu Kang and Raiden, Johnny Cage, Sonya, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, probably missing Kano, yeah, and then Goro and Shang Tsung. Um, remember playing that first at a friend's house, and it was on Sega, and we were like, "Holy crap! There's no way our parents know we're playing this." In terms of it being violent and fatalities and stuff. Unfortunately, it was one of the parents where this is okay. I had other friends' parents who would have had a fit if this was being played. But yeah, we enjoyed it. I was a Sub-Zero fan. I was the guy who tried to keep doing the same move over and over again. So just like let me keep shooting ice at you and then doing an uppercut. That was my shtick with Mortal Kombat. And so Mortal Kombat, the first one, I would say I'm going to have it in my top of my enjoy because it might be a really like, but I'm going to have to think through. This is where I struggle. Okay, so Mortal Kombat 2. Now I'm trying to think what characters were added to Mortal Kombat 2. Is this where they added the like Cyrax and those guys, or was that I think that was here. And so that one I actually liked a little bit more, but it was just because they had more characters, and Striker and all those guys maybe were in this one. And if not, I'm getting them wrong. But yeah, so Mortal Kombat 2 I like just because there were more characters, and it added Reptile and some of those guys too that I thought were cool. And so Shao Kahn was the last guy. I did beat Mortal Kombat. I did beat Mortal Kombat 2. So that's the thing I remember most is that like Shang Tsung was the main guy here, and then Shao Kahn was here. Okay, Mortal Kombat 3 came out for the Genesis. Like, okay, we got a new one. This is great. I thought it was okay. I did not think it really advanced anything much. I didn't really like the new characters. I just remember renting it and being kind of indifferent. Maybe I was tired of Mortal Kombat or games. I don't know, but I was like, this isn't my favorite. So I'll have it down there. And then we have Mortal Kombat X. So I skipped whatever Mortal Kombat games were in the middle, probably because 3 was whatever, and then I didn't play some of the consoles. But Mortal Kombat X came out on PS3, and I was like, oh, it's on sale. I'll get it. It had a lot of your classic characters, a lot of the good old moves and things in it. Graphics, way advanced now comparatively. Still graphics, still brutal, but the story was really good. The story was good in the old ones too, for what you could do a story back then. But yeah, Mortal Kombat X, I would say I'll have in my really, really like category too. Now there was an 11, and then I think it reset at 1, and they're all part of the same storyline. I did go back and watch the storyline. I didn't play 11. I did beat X. And I think I was just like, I don't really feel like playing a whole another Mortal Kombat game and buying it. But I'll watch the story because I care about where it goes, and it was fun because it was like a movie. It's like watching the better Mortal Kombat movie because the movies they've made have not been that great. Okay. Um, let's see. We're at about an hour. Maybe we'll do through O's. Maybe O's. Yeah. So we have Miss Pac-Man. Okay, I will. Let's see. Where's Pac-Man? Is this Pac-Man? No, Ben. Up. Oh, there he is. I just have him normal. I don't have an arcade. I'll talk about both because Pac-Man was first and then Miss Pac-Man came later, and it does matter. So I played Pac-Man first at the arcade. Now, the thing we had that was the super coolest thing in the world, and I hope my brother still has this, is like a mini Pac-Man that was like tiny and you had little joysticks and it was little pellets on the screen. Had the same music and everything. That game was awesome. I loved playing it. But Pac-Man at the arcade was really cool too. And, everybody's familiar with, you got the guy, you got the ghost, Inky, Blinky, Clyde, Pinky as well, maybe. And so you get the super pellet or whatever, and then you chase them around and get them while they're blue and knock them out. So Pac-Man is a game I would say that I enjoy. It was fun, arcade, kind of repetitive and stuff. So then Miss Pac-Man came out. Miss Pac-Man's better than Pac-Man, in my opinion. I really, really liked Miss Pac-Man. She's got the bow on her head, but the stages start to vary. They have different kind of alignments and stuff that I don't think Pac-Man had. I remember getting farther in Miss Pac-Man because I cared more about like getting to the next stage and see what it looked like and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed both, but I enjoyed Miss Pac-Man a little bit more than Pac-Man. Mutant League Football. So this was on Sega. My friends had rented this. You are football teams, but you are mutants. You are like monsters and different things. And I thought that was super cool. Now, I don't remember a ton about the game. I'll say that I enjoyed it because I played it enough where I should like be able to say how good it was. It was football. You're above the thing, but it was violent. Like when you hit people, you like could dismember them, I think, or maybe take their head off if they were one of these skull guys. But yeah, that game was a cool concept. It was one I wish they would maybe bring back, Mutant League something, because it was a cool concept. I thought it was fun. All right, Myst. Myst was on computer. This is one of those games you get immersed in. Like you put it in, and you're like, where am I? This is a mystery. What in the world is going on? That's probably why it's called Myst, because it's a mystery. You're trying to figure out where you go. This is again before the easy days if I'm going to look up how to beat a game. You could. The internet was there. There were some places I'm sure you could find it, but I was pretty averse to like just trying to cheat to do that because what the hell am I playing for if I'm just using a guide? And so like you had to figure out these puzzles and stuff. And I eventually beat Myst, but man, there were times where I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to beat this game, and I owned it. But yeah, Myst is one that I really, really liked. I thought it was a really cool game. There's been other Myst games, but I didn't play them. But this first one was fun. All right, we have NBA in the Zone, 98. So there were a few like NBA games, and I think this one I owned. This was a newer version. So NBA Live, this one down here, 95 was probably the first one that I had on N64. And then because like 3 years had passed, it's like, okay, it's probably better by now. And In the Zone was a fun game. They have the Hornets on there. I play as the Hornets a good bit. I enjoyed this game for sure and liked the gameplay. NBA Jam on the Genesis. I had a friend who was one of the biggest nerds you'd ever meet. Coolest, loved him to death. Nice guy. Introduced me a lot of cool games that are on this list. But man, couldn't give a crap less about sports if you found a person in the world, who could care less. He loved NBA Jam. We played it with his younger brother who loved sports and another one of our friends. And yeah, NBA Jam was just so fun. And you have 2-on-2. It's funny because you remember certain players being in the game that aren't in the game. Michael Jordan's not in the game. Charles Barkley wasn't in the game. There might have been a version he was. But yeah, there's just some teams where you look at who the combo is and you're like, oh, Okay, they didn't really have everybody's buy-in, but that's okay. He's on fire, a famous thing. You hit 3 shots. That's still used when you play any game. I'll have it as really really liked for sure. Um, yeah, just shooting, dunking, crazy plays. Super fun game. NBA Live 95. This was the first one I had. I'll say NBA Live 95 was also a game I enjoyed. Kind of like NBA in the Zone. I thought it was good for its time. I don't know that these games. I maybe tried to play one game like this more recently, but I don't think so. I don't know that they've advanced much. It seems like when people play these games now, it's like, oh, you've got to be a GM and run the team for 5 years before you even have a chance to win. It's like, what are you doing? Just play basketball. So, who knows? All right, NFL Blitz, interesting one here. N64, super like fast paced, physical, fun game, lots of turnovers and stuff. You could not really blow somebody out. It would just start letting the other team come back, and it was frustrating. So you almost had to like learn how to be good, knowing you were going to choke off a lead, like how much time you should allow to elapse for your chance to come back. But the game was fun. It was super physical and fun. So I'll have that in my really really liked category as well. Fun multiplayer game. Friends coming over. Let's play Blitz for a while. NFL Football 94. I'm not sure if I'm the only person who ever owned this. It's Joe Montana on the cover when he was with the Chiefs in his later years. I own this. I think I got it for Christmas or something. But I have a special place in my heart for this game because I had like one friend who would come over and we'd play this. We always call it like, what was his name? Steve Bono, the backup, whoever it was. And we're like, Steve Bono 95 because Joe Montana was going to retire. So you're going to be the backup essentially in this game. And but the game had some like fun commentating. It's like the rain is coming down harder. And it would rain really hard in that game. And it was just one of those classic old, you're almost on top, and the bar for kicking going up and left and right and all those things. So just a standard game, but I enjoyed this game a lot, even though it probably wasn't like the best football game ever. I didn't go play like a ton of Madden games or anything, so that was fun. All right, NHL 94. This one I rented. I did not buy. But this was just an EA Sports NHL game that I thought was okay. I don't know that it was my favorite. I just tried it, and again, I liked Mario Lemieux and some of those guys and Wayne Gretzky, and I was like, oh, I'll try to play. But maybe I didn't know enough hockey or whatever when I played to like really get into that one. Also, didn't like play multiplayer with friends a lot in that because they just didn't have interest. So one wasn't one of those. All right, we have Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden 2. We have Ninja Gaiden 1, which I think was more of an arcade game to start, and then they ported over to the NES. But I did play it, and I did rent it. And so, like, cool game. You come out, you got the swords, you're pretty fast. Not super fast. This is NES. This isn't Sega where you're like Sonic, but you're like, you're running, you got your sword, guys are running at you, but you could jump and flip off of walls. It's like get on the sign and flip back and hit it and flip off that and hit it. So it was pretty fun. I could not get very far though. Like I wasn't very good at the jumping and everything to really be good at it. But I'll say that it was, I enjoyed it. Like I thought the game was cool enough so that when Ninja Gaiden 2 came out, I gave it a chance. This game's really fun. So Ninja Gaiden 2, I got farther in. I ended up buying it. I did not beat it, I don't think. But I'll have it in my really, really liked. The music in this game is awesome. Some of the best, for sure. And then, yeah, I got better. I could do more of the wall jumps and things in this one. But for some reason, if I got past a certain point, I just could not beat a certain boss or something, and I can't remember who it was, and I probably just gave up because there was a new game that I was playing or I rented something, so don't know why. Could be that I was just terrible. All right, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a game that I just got like a few months ago. Heard it was awful when it came out because it was so glitchy. There were bugs, it crashed, and all these other things. But this is another one of those games that this is like an independent developer who over time just invested in this game and made it something super awesome. So it is like an AI generating game where it creates new planets and new places and environments for you to go. And you can play the game many different ways. You're really just like an explorer that doesn't, you're just like behind a space suit. You go to these outposts and meet the aliens and talk to them. You can learn their language and get gear, and you have to go mine on these different planets, and the planets may have different environments. It could be hostile, it could be cold, it could be hot, it could have different parts of it. It could be a mostly water world. Just they generate all the time, like, or you go a new place and you could find a new planet. But I thought it was cool. I tried to play it a little bit to start. I'm going to have it in the didn't play enough for sure because I haven't gotten far enough. But straight laced play it where I have to like mine minerals and do things to get enough to get my ship off the ground and move to this, get enough minerals to get a hyperdrive to move to a different system and do all that. But I did do that, and I did get to like a second planet, and I remember being freaked out because one, I went there and they're like, oh, this is a monitor planet where there's like somebody else hostile, that's looking to see if there's activity going on, and if they see you, they'll start attacking you. So I was distracted by that, and I'm like, oh god, I got to get away from these things. And all of a sudden, a giant freaking, like, it's like Tremors or Dune, where a giant worm came out of the ground and like almost just swallowed me up, and it was like right next to me. I was like, holy crap. So there's some cool little nuances I'm sure they've added to this game like that I think are really fun. So I look for, it's a game I can put in just to relax and like go explore space and fly around. The space battles are pretty fun. You can like commandeer big ships and do things I haven't really done yet. So a lot of cool gameplay as well. All right, this is man, it's One Must Fall. Why can't I remember? Oh, I know what One Must Fall is. Give me a break. I just couldn't tell by the box. So One Must Fall was a PC game my friend had. This was the guy who liked NBA Jam that I mentioned. And One Must Fall was like you have these robots, and it's like Mortal Kombat or whatever, but you're fighting with robots. But it's a little different because you can customize your robot, a little like Cyborg Justice in that regard, but you're fighting one-on-one. And you're gaining points and getting points to be able to modify your robot stronger and stronger. I just played it when I went over every now and then as a side game. I more watched him play it. But yeah, I thought that game was okay. It wasn't like my favorite, but it was kind of fun to watch. Outnumbered is another math game that we happened to play. And this is another one that had like space related stuff and Math Blaster had a little bit of the space related stuff, so very similar. I'll have it as okay. Helped me learn algebra, I think, a little bit. One of these two did, so kudos for that. I never was great at it though. Okay, that takes us to the P's, and then we are at an hour 17. So P's. Let's try to get through the P's, because if I can get to an hour and a half and keep my voice a little bit, then we'll maybe have a better shot at finishing it up, the next one before we rank. So, okay, Paperboy. Paperboy, I played more of the NES version. I know it was on at the arcade. I'm sure I played it a little bit there, but I remember the NES version for sure. Fun game. I'll say it was okay. I enjoyed it because you're trying to get the like paper exactly in the mailbox or whatever, and you dodging stuff, and it was fun. But I also don't know that I got super far in it or cared to. You get to like an obstacle course section where there's like ramps and hoops and stuff. But yeah, it was just okay. It wasn't like, if it was at the arcade, I wouldn't have played it over some of the other games. It was fine though. Phantasy Star 4. Not an RPG person, didn't play Final Fantasy and all of those. I was told at one point, this is the best RPG somebody's ever played. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not really an RPG person, but I'll try it. So I played this game and I really, really liked it. I actually beat it. I played it enough to beat it. Cool characters, cool world. Felt like I was in their world, which I always say is important. The music was good in this. This was a game I wouldn't mind picking up and playing again for sure. I really, really liked Phantasy Star 4. Pilotwings 64. Okay. Pilot Wings was one of the first games on N64 that I recall. I played Pilot Wings. Is it the best game ever? It's not. Is it a little like, what am I doing? Kind of sometimes, yeah. But you have different things you're flying. Like you can fly a glider, you're flying a little helicopter, you're flying like a jetpack, and you're really trying to go through obstacle courses, like land in a certain spot and see how close you can land to something. It's more, just trying to get you a feel for like an N64 kind of deal more than anything. And I know there was a Pilot Wings SNES as well that I didn't play. Um, but Pilot Wings was fine. It was fine. Like it was relaxing. I didn't mind the little island I was on or the world I was on. So I'll have it as okay. It was fine. Pinball. Pinball was on NES, just like a pinball machine, and you shoot it up, and there's different things you get, and try to get score. It's probably an arcade game, similar. If not, it's just like it because you're trying to get points. But pinball, I thought was okay. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like my favorite game ever, but when I played it, it was all right. Again, not a game I think you beat. Pilot Wings, I know I didn't beat, but it was more of a unlocking levels kind of thing, I think, or advancing levels. Maybe I did beat it, but it was just like getting to the last level and getting a high score or something. Just renting it. And then Pitfall. So Pitfall was on Atari. It was also arcade, but I remember being on Atari as well. So Pitfall is where you're the little guy and you're running, and there's alligators, and you got to swing across the vine and go over ladders and do all that stuff. And Pitfall I liked a little bit more. I'll have that in my enjoyed category. I thought that was a nice, fun, challenging game. There's snakes and scorpions and stuff that was cool for the time. You're like, oh man, they got all this in a game. So that's fun. Pokemon Snap. I'm not much of a Pokemon guy or person that plays Pokemon games. This next one's the only one I played that was a normal like Pokemon game. But Pokemon Snap was on the 64, and I think I went over to a friend's house and they'd rented it or whatever, but it was just that you were on like a tram and you had a camera, and your whole job was to take the best photos you could take of these Pokemon and like find rare ones or do whatever. So you're literally like looking like it's you first person, and you're trying to look, and you might have to like look back and left to see this thing coming out of the woods, and oh, I got to take a picture of it. That was the whole point of the game. Now I don't know what, if there are multiple levels or if it's score based or whatever. But I actually enjoyed it. For what it was kind of fun. Different, it's just like, oh, this is all I'm supposed to do. But you then start getting frustrated. It's like, oh crap, why wasn't that picture better? That kind of thing. So it was different. I'll say I enjoyed it. I might move it around once I think about it more, but yeah, it was fun. I keep saying it's okay. All right, Pokemon Blue version. I don't know if this was Nintendo 64 that I played this. So what it was I never played the Pokemon games, but eventually I played a Pokemon game, and it was one of the first ones. I think there were blue and red versions. I never understood why there were multiples or what the difference was. But I played a game where it's like, oh, you're catching Magikarp or whatever the first Pokemon is you're fighting, you caught it. You eventually get a Pikachu. You have to pick if you're getting a Squirtle or blanking on the other Charizard, Charmander maybe, something like that. But anyway, you have to pick like one of the guys to start, and then you go and play it. And it's a RPG, and I thought it was actually kind of fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't get super far into it and catch a lot of Pokemon and win, but I did enough to where I was like, oh, I can understand why people enjoy this. And you evolve and feed your Pokemon and they become better. It reminds me of those little Digipets or whatever they used to have for us, where you like had to take care of it and feed it or whatever, else it would get sick and die, and just like a little keychain thing. It's kind of what Pokemon felt like. All right, we have, man, I don't know what that is. It's so small, but it's by Pong, and it was between Pong and Pokemon. PKPL. Pole position, I bet is what it is. Yes, because now I can see the wheel. Now, one of the reasons I didn't really first recognize it is because I didn't play this version of Pole Position very much um, on the Atari, but you did have the little pedals at the bottom and you had the wheel. Ours was the one you sat in, and you had the pedals in front of you like you were driving, which was super cool. It was at Mazio's pizza place. And Pole Position was fun. Now, was the game itself great? Like the visuals and everything? Probably not, but the feel of being in there and being able to push the pedals and stuff was fun. So I'll have that in my enjoyed category. Pong. So this is Atari, the original dude back and forth playing Pong. Pong I always enjoyed. It was a fun game for its time. Competitive with your friends. You try to get the right angle and like speed it up, to get past them. So Pong was a cool game for sure. Prince of Persia. This was a game on computer that I played at my friend's house where we played Indiana Jones and Seventh Guest and that kind of stuff. Prince of Persia was like a jumping game and getting to, through a trap door and all that stuff, jumping around, which was fine. It was okay. I thought it was a little clunky sometimes with the controls and stuff and frustrating. I probably watched it being played more than I played it because I would get frustrated. So I'll have it in my okay category. Man, another one of these. Oh, I know what this one is. Hard to see. What you'll see if you look closely is a Punisher symbol, because this is the Punisher game. Punisher was Punisher and Nick Fury. You could pick between the two, or you play 2-player. And you're just going through mowing down people like you would with guns back in those days in games. And Punisher, I probably played a couple times. If I saw it, I tried to play it because I liked Marvel and Punisher and Nick Fury. This is a game I enjoyed. Now, I don't remember too much, and it might have eventually been ported over to like Sega or something, but I don't remember playing it on a handheld console more than the arcade. Okay, and then Q*bert. We have Q*bert was like definitely arcade, and then I think I played it on Atari as well. You jump on the cubes to change the colors, and then you got stuff chasing you, and Q*bert was always a game I enjoyed. I thought it was fun. Let's see. We can do the R's. We're going to get through the R's, and then we'll just have the S's forward. Rampage. All right, Rampage was on NES, and Rampage you could be, was it George? I'm not going to remember their names now that I got them in my head. But there was like the giant King Kong type character, the giant Godzilla Lizzie. That's what I wanted to say. For a Godzilla type character, and I think there was like a rat as well. Maybe it might have been a second version or something. But anyway, I remember these two more than anything. And so Rampage I rented, and a couple cool things about Rampage. One, I like the gameplay. Like you're just climbing the buildings and you're punching and you're like taking people out and you can eat them or whatever, throw them away. You eat like fruit and food and you need it for health. But the other thing, and this is what always frustrated me, I would rent it and I was a geography guy and they would have a map. And it's like you're going from spot to spot on the map and you want to try to like beat every state. Well, I never beat every state or got close. I probably got through 20 of them or something. Before I was done. So like, yeah, that frustrated me about Rampage. I almost want to go back and see if I could beat it, if you could do it that way. But I'll have that up toward the top of my enjoyed because it might be in that really like category. RC Pro-Am. RC Pro-Am was the little like Micro Machines, but not above. It was like a side angle. You've probably seen it, was at the arcade too, where you're these cars and you're like going around a track from like the top angle. And you can like spin out and like slide through corners and kind of things. And I always enjoyed RC Pro-Am. Probably played it on the NES more, rented it and played it more than some of the others as well. Rebel Assault, Star Wars. This was the second Star Wars game that I had on CD-ROM. I think this was CD-ROM. If not, it was disc and like 10 discs that I had to install. This one might have been disc still. But yeah, so Rebel Assault, the thing I remember most about Rebel Assault is one, I needed the joystick because you're flying like an X-Wing a lot or whatever. The most frustrating part of this game was toward the beginning for me because you had to do Beggar's Canyon. And it was like lots of tight turns. You could go multiple directions. And I swear I crashed in Beggar's Canyon a billion times. So I would get very frustrated with Rebel Assault. I I'll have that in my was okay category because I just never made it far enough to really enjoy this game compared to some of the other Star Wars games. And maybe it's just because I was terrible again, so my fault. Red Dead Redemption 2, this one is in the good but didn't play enough category. Another game I bought on sale. I've heard how awesome it is, but it is a very immersive game of you being in the Wild West or the end of it, and you're this character. You got to make a lot of decisions, and but the world is truly open. It's like get on my horse and ride for who knows how far, or get on a train. I did this. I did this. I forgot, and this is why I quit initially. So I went through the initial story and stopped a train robbery or something, or robbed the train myself, and then fought some bandits trying to rob us. And so it then put me out in the real world, and I could go do whatever I want. And I was out in like the snow and all this other stuff, and it taught me how to hunt, all fine. And then there was a train in town, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get on the train, see where the train takes me. Well, the train took me like a trillion miles away across the map. I'm literally just riding on the train, and then I hop off at some point and I'm in another town, and it's like, what do I do now? And so there were all these side quests and stuff, but I was just lost. Like I didn't advance the story at all. So I put it on pause because I'm like, I'm not ready to dig into this world, but it looks really cool. It does. Okay, Road Rash 2. I had to look these up because I couldn't remember if I just played Road Rash 2. Road Rash 1 was more arcade, and then I think it was also on Genesis at some point, and I played it like once on Genesis. I thought it was fine. It was a game I enjoyed, but I was like not blown away by it. You're riding on a bike, you're racing these other guys, they're trying to knock you off your bike, you're trying to knock them off their bike. That's the whole point. Road Rash 2 comes out. Played it at a friend's house. And I remember more of the weapons you can use, the chain. It's like a tire iron, maybe. You can kick them. But when you fall off your bike, it throws you way forward, and then you got to run back to your bike and catch up. But you can like modify your bike and do some other things. This game I thought was a huge upgrade on the other one. I will have that in my really, really like category. We had a lot of fun multiplayer on this, certainly. So fun game. All right, Rock Band. I think I played Rock Band. I never played Guitar Hero. I remember a lot of people just had Guitar Hero, but I played Rock Band at like a friend's house a couple times, different friends probably, where you had the mic for the singer, you had the drummer, the guitar player, maybe anything else. I don't know if there's a bass or whatever. But yeah, so Rock Band 4 was fun. I thought it was a fine game. It was kind of fun to have the music and things to play. So I'll have it in the enjoyed category. Okay, that takes us to the S's, and hopefully we'll be able to get through it on the next one and be done with it. Well, then we'll have to do the ranking, so I'll probably do the ranking in a separate video, but we'll get through the S's to the Z's.